Hello, World Tank Blitzers, and hopefully a few future mom rads. Hey, I'm Littlefinger, and today I'm doing a full tank review on the Covenanter. You can see it here in the garage. This is a Tier 4 light tank. This is a British tank. Quite fun to drive. Standout quality on this tank, without a doubt, is its 15 degrees of gun depression. You want to keep this tank close to hills and fight it out there for sure. Taking a look at the tech tree here on the bottom, you see the Covenanter there at Tier 4. Goes up to the Crusader, Cromwell, Comet, Centurion, the 7-1, and the FE-4202. All really fun tanks to drive in my opinion. Armor's not the greatest, but great gun handling. High rate of fire and low damage would be my summation of most of those tanks there. Looking at setup, this tank has the 40 millimeter Bofors. It has 4 shells in the magazine and a shell reload time of 0.4 seconds and a magazine reload time of 6.48. So when we go to consumables, adrenaline is not available to us as we are running an autoloader. So I have set up with repair kit, multi-purpose restoration, and I am running a fire extinguisher. Could very easily change it out probably with an engine boost. Would also work very well with this tank. Provisions, I'm running all 3: standard fuel, black tea, and protective kit. Ammunition, you will need some APCR, especially for your Tier 5 KVs and some of those other heavies. So I'm got this split with 64 AP, 44 APCR, and 12 HE. And obviously my friendly reminder, you can change from gold to 400 credits per round with that button right there. Okay, so here we are comparing the Tier 4 light tanks, Covenanter on the left, and we are using blitzstars.com. DPM 1381 is really good. You see a lot of red on those other tanks, meaning they're not as good. Only the M5 Stuart has a better DPM. However, what you're going to notice is a lower penetration value for this tank and also the M5 Stuart. So what you're going to end up is bouncing a few shots. You're not going to really obtain that full DPM potential. Alpha is 45, so that's how much damage you do approximately per shot, and you are getting off about 30 shots per minute. And that's because you've got 4 shells and they come out in bursts of 2. Reload on the tank is 6.6 seconds. Obviously, that's a lot longer than any of these other ones because of the multiple shots. Moving on down to aim time and dispersion, you'll see the other tanks have a lot of green, meaning they're better. And one of the things you'll notice when driving this tank, how bad the dispersion is on the move. You really have to stop and wait and let that aim time set in before you can accurately shoot. So sometimes you're just kind of firing on the run and hoping for the best. But what I mentioned in the intro there about playing this tank on hills, 15 degrees of gun depression just blows all of these other guns away. So make sure you're cresting ridges, you're using that gun depression to keep as much of your tank hidden behind the hill. Speed is pretty good at 50 kilometers per hour. It gets you around quite well, but it's no comparison to really all of these other light tanks. Feels just so much faster. 371 horsepower gives you a power to rate ratio of 20.38. Again, It's going to feel a little sluggish climbing steep hills. This is why maybe that power boost might come in handy from time to time. And it does very well on the terrain resistance there. Those values are better than most all of the other lights, with the exception of the Kehoe there with the outstanding terrain resistance. As far as traverse speeds go, this tank comes in at about 52 degrees per second on traverse and a turret traverse of 53. So you're sitting there in about the same category with, say, like the A20, which I believe is 55 and 58. So very good on the maneuverability factor for sure. One of the nice things about this tank is the credit coefficient. It's almost the highest there outside of that M5 Stuart, so you're going to make some good money if you play this tank well. View range is one of the weakest there at 233. Hit points right in line with all the other ones at 540. And you look here at your hull armor at 40 is actually pretty good compared to these other tanks. The turret armor at 39, also pretty good. But the nice thing about the turret, it does have some good angles to it, so you can get quite a few bounces with this tank. So moving on down here to the BlitzStars data, you can see it comes with a 90-day win rate of 56%. So it does pretty well as far as the winnability, so to speak, on this tank. You can see here that 1,100 players have played this tank over that 90 days. So it's not certainly the most played tank, but it's far from the lowest. So let me show you the equipment setup, and then we'll get into some gameplay. Okay, so here is the equipment setup for the Covenanter. You can see that I have just been running it with vents, which is a different option than what you normally get because this is an auto loader. The reason I like vents is because it adds 5% to all crew skills. So you can see from this list, it's traverse speed, turret traverse speed, rate of fire, aim time, dispersion, view range. Everything is increased, and under the old system, vents was one of the ones I would always equip the tank with anyway. So I think this one is far better than the calibrated shells for this tank, which would increase your shell penetration by 6 millimeters. Looking at vitality, again, I think I've covered this previously. I'm much more worried about ammo racks, fires, just losing your engine, you can't even move, those type of things. So I'm going to put the protection on that over some of the crew protection, just because you can live without a driver for a short period of time if you really need to, depending upon the situation of the game. Improved optics versus camouflage net. Obviously the camouflage net decreases your visibility, whereas the improved optics increases your view range, which this is a pretty good increase here. So 261 meters is a nice distance for a view range. I would consider certainly loading this one if you're going to keep this tank for a little bit. And then again, we move down to levels 2 and 3 where you have to use spare parts to equip them. So these lower tier tanks, I don't really think it's worth using your spare parts. I would save those for the upper tier tanks when you get there. So if you are going to spend it, you've got the choice here of enhanced gun lane drive and supercharge. And I kind of went back and forth on the idea of this one. I think the enhanced gun lane drive is your better option because you should be using this tank a little bit up close. You shouldn't be necessarily sniping from a distance with this tank just because the dispersion is bad. And I've got some video here that I'm going to show in a minute shows you just how maybe inaccurate the gun can be at distance. So enhanced armor, add 5% to the hull and turret versus increased vehicle hit points. Kind of a toss-up for me on this one. I might just go with that 5% just because we've got pretty good armor. That 5% is going to be a nice little boost. Improved control versus engine accelerator. I kind of like the idea of boosting that engine horsepower on this tank. Helps you climb those hills a little bit better. I would go with the engine accelerator. Vertical stabilizer or the refined gun. I'm pretty much going to go with the vertical stabilizer every time. It was certainly a good piece of equipment to have under the old system. While it only decreases 0.2 of your aim time, I don't think increasing 0.018 dispersion on this tank is really going to be that noticeable. Enhanced tracks versus toolbox. I wouldn't spend my money on either one of those, I don't think. Consumable delivery system versus high-end consumables. Well, this one's easy for me since you can't use adrenaline and I'm not using the power boost. I would certainly use the consumable delivery system. So that's how I would equip this tank if I were to spend my spare parts. Alright guys, here's the first game I'm going to show you. It's on Canal, and you can see I'm bottom tier, only one other tier 4 here with me. And I'm going to try to stress playing this tank on hills using that 15-degree gun depression. Hopefully you won't get sick of hearing me talk about it. But you can see here I'm going to push to the left, and I'm going to use this nice ridgeline here and just peek over just enough so I can get some shots in and pull back down to the safety behind the hill. Now this might be a good opportunity here to talk about sitting in one spot for too long. You can see I've pulled up and I have been spotted, and they've got some guys up on the hill there. I know that DW's got some armor, so I'm taking time to switch over to APCR, and he throws a shot in on me. And my mistake here is coming back up and trying to repeat that, and I take another shot there. So that was bad play on my part. I should have relocated after I got spotted the first time and moved on to somewhere different. But as you can see here, I'm going to move up to this next level hill and just try to use my gun depression as much as possible, only pulling up just enough to be able to peek over the top of the hill here and then back down to reload. Now what I'm trying to do here is just keep these two from pushing around on the corner. They've got a lot of support behind them. You can see the DW and the other tanks, and wanted to see if I could take that M4 out, but he's doing a good job hiding behind that tank. So we'll go back in here and we'll focus on the Shinobi. And each time you can see here I'm backing down off the hill. This guy is YOLOing into to get the our Anko, but he was unsuccessful. And so I just backed down to safety. And even though this wasn't a game of high damage for me per se, you can see how well I used that ridgeline and limited the opponent's ability to get shots in on me. So anyway, we're waiting for the game to end here. The Stewart was AFK. So you can see the dispersion here on the move, how big it is. So we miss out on that last kill there. But you know, in this game we did 745 damage. You know, that was good to get us 670 experience points there. So, you know, I think we did our job in holding the line and playing that hill as best we could. All right, so the second game here is Lost Temple. And we've got some pretty good heavies. So I'm expecting them to want to go up to the temple. So I'm keeping an eye on them, and I see that T1's headed this way. So I'm going to adjust course, and we're going to go left. Again, we are bottom tier, and I like to come up into these mounds here just because it does offer some protection should they pop up. We don't want to get ambushed. And you can see here, I was thinking, oh, it's just a Covenanter. But no. We are now in a precarious situation. And this game is more about map awareness than anything else. This Chaffee here is pushed around us. So I'm kind of trying to use my speed to outmaneuver him as much as possible. And you can see here I'm angling to him, and he does bounce one shot there. So once he does that, I'm going to move around him and go ahead and finish him off. And so now I've got 2 tanks in front of me and several tanks behind me. And you can see how quickly that VK goes from shootable to not shootable as soon as he angles properly to me. So I'm going to shift over to APCR here. And now I've taken shots from both sides, and I'm kind of in a world of hurt, so to speak. I'm very fortunate here that this Covenanter decides to run for it. And you can see every time I take my shot, I back up. I'm checking to the left of me just to make sure that they're not pushing up. If they push up, then I've got to relocate. But I know my team is all behind me. So I'm going to come back to the left side. And you can see here, you really got to find the right angle for this tank to get up hills. It's not super powerful, but this is the great part about it. I'm just peeking over the top, dropping back down. You saw that PZ4 there. He was just waiting for me to crest over, but I never gave him a shot. I'm going to do the same thing on this DW. Just enough. It's got a lot of red, so I'm going to switch over to APCR and get a good round of shots into him. Shame here I put that one into the dirt, or else I would have got the kill there. PZ4 is going to come around. Not sure why he's not aiming at me, but anyway, we'll get a good round of shots into him as well. Just going to go ahead and ram him if I could. And the team finishes them off. It was a good team game, which you don't see a lot of these days. But you can see the precarious situation I was in and how I didn't panic, and I just focused on the tanks that I could. And we got 1373 damage, 3 kills. For being a tier 4 top damage, it's obviously a pretty good game there. So that's kind of the damage you can put out in a very short amount of time with this tank. Alright, here's another game. This time we are top tier on Winter Malinovka. I don't make a call here, just expecting everyone to want to go right. You see here I'm pushing forward, checking minimap. Okay, so we're not going right. So if that's the case, I prefer to keep myself as far to the outside, and now these guys are going to the middle. A little confused over our strategy at this point in time. But I've got the other guy in front of me out ahead, so I know they're not on that side. So I'm going to push up into the buildings here. And we wait for that aim time, and we'll get some good shots into the side of the Hetzer. It's always good to get some of these bigger gun tanks out early. And I'm just being very cautious about how much I peek around here. See, this M2's coming around. And I've got myself out in the open. I was thinking about going to that building behind me, but it would have been faster for me to push forward into this building here for safety. But the M2 wasn't looking at us, so we were okay in that regard. And we can just unload a shot there into the SU and push right forward into the building while we reload. And they're all focusing on that Hetzer who's pushed way up too much. Notice we've got a B2 coming around the corner here. But I'm just trying to hold this building and keep them from pushing around. It's nice to get that SU out of the way there. And you can see I'm just kind of using this building as much as possible. They've dropped off. No one spotted them. So figure I'll come around here and try to help get this B2 out of the way. I know he's got good armor, so I'm preparing myself for APCR should I need it. Look at all that red. Yep, gonna need it. And I see he's turning here, so I go ahead and wait for him just to turn a little bit further, just so I get closer to a 90-degree angle on him. And you can see here, a little frustrating with that last shot going over the top, or else we probably would have finished the medium off there. But go ahead and finish him off, unload the clip so I get a new round. Saved all my hit points for the end, so I can take one against this Hetzer if I need to. And then this is how you play against ATD. Just pull up as close to the side as possible and just keep dancing with him like that. Now he was able to push forward because he had that M2 and I didn't really want to pursue him because of that tank being there. And I take a horrible angle and he gets around the building, but the M2 pushes around and we finish him off. And I'm on a reload here. Gonna go ahead and angle towards him just in case, but we go ahead and finish him off for kill number 5. As you can see, we kind of held the edge. Obviously more safe when you're on the outside of the map. You're not letting people flank or get beside you. So 1371 damage in this game was good enough for a level 1 mastery badge. 38 of 35 shots penetrated. So I've really enjoyed playing this tank now that I know to play it on hills a lot more. Okay, this game we are on Black Goldville. We are top tier. Call for everyone to head up to the caves. And off we go. They've got some slower tanks, so I'm not expecting them to be around the corner here just yet. This Locust is right here with me. So we'll get some good shots into that T-46 and then back up while we reload. And we take a couple shots here and he damages our tracks. No point repairing because there wasn't anyone in our way there. And we're starting to get some more spots here. Get a few lucky shots, in my opinion, into that Hetzer there. And we are stuck out in the open. And he hits us in our turret. And it goes off to the side. And I didn't realize that. So I wasn't even shooting at him at that point in time. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to this ridge here. And I see he's facing away. So we'll get shots into his side. And then we will back on down. And he's going to turn, and I'm looking at him, and he's facing us. So he's expecting us to come back over, which we're not going to do because we're a little bit smarter than that. And so we're going to take shots on this SU and back down. And check to see what this Hetzer is doing. He's going around, so again we can shoot. We'll look and see what he's doing. If he'd have been coming over, I would have just gone the other side. So we're playing a little cat and mouse game. I see that the Hetzer shoots, so we can go back over, and teammate finishes him off. And then there's the SU. We still got 2 shots in. One of those goes in, but team member finishes him off. So you can see we were just playing a little game of up and over on that ridge line. Now we know they're in the base, and just want to show how great this 15 degrees of gun depression is. I'm barely sticking over the top here. Look at this angle. But at 289 meters, you'll see here in a second when I'm aiming just at the turret on the B1. I think we get 2 out of the 4. We get reload, and the first 2 miss, and then he gets killed, and I think the second 2 probably would have hit. But you know, you're not gonna have that super accuracy with distance with this tank, but you can get yourself into some good hold down positions using those hills. 1200 damage, only got 1 kill. Okay, so last game I want to show is on Mirage. We are bottom tier. Would like the team to go left. Obviously this is much favorable for me. And these mounds and this gun depression, I like to head to the middle of the map here to this bush and just peek over and see if we can't get any of them spotted up, see which way they're going. Go ahead and take a couple shots into that KV-1 before I get spotted. That Leo's coming around the corner here. He's got some good armor, so I'm going to leave it on APCR and try to get a track shot in there. We'll keep him stationary. And he gets ammo racked. Nice. Good way to start. This Hetzer's playing the hills quite nicely, only showing a very little bit of that lower glacis, making it difficult to penetrate. I see this KV-1's pushing around the outside, so I'm not going to crest these hills. I'm just going to peek around the side of them. And he's showing us the side there, and he's just headed our way. So there's absolutely nothing I want to do with taking a KV-1 on head-to-head here. So I'm going to use my mobility and move on and let him be driving to nowhere. You can see here, moving on the run, no accuracy whatsoever. We're going to drive by the A20 and take a shot from the KV. It's going to damage our engine. We're going to have to fix that to keep moving, so we do. And we've got a group of tanks down here and some guys calling for help, but we're too late. Finish off the Hetzer and put a couple shots into the M3 Lee. Wait for our reload here and finish him off. And now we're headed towards the Chaffee. It's 3-on-2. We'll get a couple good shots here in, but do a horrible job backing up and take a shot. But we're not going to let him get away. We're going to reload, move on in, and finish him off. Now we just have that KV left. 2-on-1. It's me and an A20, both tier 4 tanks against probably the best tier 5 heavy out there, but obviously not driven by the best KV-1 driver out there. So he shows me his side here, and I'm just going to back away and let him get distracted by the A20 on the other side, and then I'll just pull forward, get some more shots in, And at this point in time, it's too late for him really to do anything. So we'll finish him off. And that, my friends, is how you drive the Covenanter. Using those hills, using that 15 degrees of gun depression. I'm going to have to use some APCR, especially on these tier 5 heavy tanks. But this is a really fun tank to play. It's a tank that I hadn't played since I probably rushed right through this. My win rate was less than 50%, so it was obviously during a time that I hadn't learned the knowledge that I do now. But you can see if you play it the right way, it's a really strong tank. So anyway, guys, glad you're out here watching these videos, getting educated, just so you're not getting fingered. Littlefinger out.